Hey everybody, welcome back. I apologize about my voice. I am getting over a week-long flu since returning from Florida over the holidays, which I hope everyone had a great holiday, both Christmas or Hanukkah or whatever you choose to celebrate, as well as a Happy New Year. I had planned to have a few more videos out by this point in 2020, but alas, sickness kicked in, and so this is our very first video of 2020. And thank you guys so much for sticking with me. Thank you guys so much for continuing to watch and for sending in all of your comments and messages to the community page while Christy and I have been away. It's been great. It's been great. I know I gush a lot on this channel about how wonderful you all have been, and I mean it. I really do mean it. You guys are awesome. So thank you for sticking with me. Thank you for, there's been a little bit of a gap between videos, but thank you all the same. And with that out of the way, let's get into what I wanted to talk about today, because today's topic is one that keeps coming up the more popular this channel becomes. Obviously, there have been a number of videos that have done quite well in terms of like viewership numbers and that have attracted a lot of fresh eyes to this channel. Most notably, my tongue-in-cheek video entitled Vinyl Sucks. If you have not seen it, go ahead. I'll link to it in this video as well as in the description. You should go check it out and tell me what you think. But that video actually is not the video that elicits the most comments from people that are either fans of this channel or are altogether new to it. No, the video that seems to strike a chord with more viewers in terms of either eliciting straight up hate or I'm with you, congratulations, is my review that I did about a year and a half ago now, or a year ago, revisiting the Crown amp. And so we're going to get into why we are talking about Crown yet again in just a moment. But I do need to state two things. One is a fact, an actual fact, and the second is an analogy. And I need to do these two things first because I think by doing those two things first, you will understand the argument that I will make in this video. Number one, and let's just get this out of the way, but number one, no piece of hi-fi electronics or home theater electronics possess any magic. They don't. No piece of gear, speaker, source, amplifier, preamplifier, cables, nothing. Absolutely nothing in this hobby is magic. It just isn't. I think there's this kind of pervasive idea or notion that certain products made by certain brands are somehow blessed or better or possess some type of magic because either their creator, the owner, founder, or designer of said product has this kind of legendary reputation for being something special, a bit like a golden ear or whatever. And therefore everything they do, everything they touch, therefore possesses some type of higher credibility than the competition. And this simply isn't true, which brings me to my analogy. I think it was in about the mid-2000s, I want to say maybe around 2006, 2007, Ford Automobiles released a throwback to their famous and iconic GT40 sports car. And it was called the Ford GT. It wasn't the GT40, it was just the Ford GT. And I know that they have now since revisited this car and it's completely different. We are talking about the Ford GT that came out in the mid-2000s. And that car was remarkable. It was absolutely remarkable. Longevity, reliability notwithstanding. Just on paper or on a whole, or people who got the opportunity to own one and drive one. For what it was, style and performance to price ratio, it was widely accepted as an overachievement. And the reason I bring the Ford GT up is because at its core, its heart, the soul of that car was powered by a V8. And that V8 came straight out of their F-150 pickup truck. And I'm willing to go out on a limb here and say that when you think about performance, like Ferrari besting performance, the car that comes to mind is not a Ford F-150 pickup truck. And yet, that was what was at the heart of the Ford GT. And and throughout its lifespan, the one thing that I never really heard people criticize was the engine. Everyone seemed to really, really love it. And so it's curious how in that world it's possible that in an engine, a simple V8 that belongs in a workhorse truck, can somehow be good enough to power one of the premier sports cars of its day. And the Ford GT was a premier sports car, a true exotic, high-performance, high-value sports car. And that was acceptable, and that was understandable, and that was even rewarded. The Ford GT won numerous awards, and at no time was the engine at fault. And that's awesome, because essentially you're buying a six-figure sports car that, I mean, yeah, there's some tinkering involved, but that's powered by an engine that is in a $20,000 pickup truck. And so that's the analogy that I want in your head right now, because the one most pervasive comment that I get when I say I endorse or I like or use or own or listen to Crown amps in my hi-fi system is Crown can't possibly be good sounding or hi-fi or audiophile grade. It's PA, digital amp, garbage, crap, you name it. It gets, and people often go, well, you don't know what you're talking about. You must not understand, because, you know, there are so many other brands with better pedigree, that magic that we spoke about just a minute ago, that would trounce this thing. And to that I say, the vast majority of people that comment that I'm somehow stupid or ill-informed or must be deaf or have bad equipment, where I would sit here and say that Crown can and is a good product. They don't own a Crown. They've never owned the Crown, and they've never put it in their system. And I normally used to respond to these people and say that I dare you. And I really want people to do this. Not because I want to sell Crown amps, I don't care, but because I really do think that sometimes walls, foundations need shaking in order for new perspective, new light to come in to focus. And so if you comment that I must be stupid about liking Crown amps, but you yourself have never put a Crown amp in your home, in your system, and done the Taster's Choice Challenge, then I'm sorry, this is going to come off as a bit harsh, but you don't know what you're talking about. Sorry. Allow me to explain how Crown came into my life. I have been a Mark Levinson customer. I was a Mark Levinson customer throughout the 2000s. They were my amplifier of choice. I loved everything that brand made. It was a sound that just resonated with me. And so I had just taken delivery of a review pair of Mark Levinson number 52 monoblocks. And these monoblocks were different than, I believe, the number 33s and the 431s, because they were hybrid. Now these monoblocks were $52,000 for the pair. Not many people ever heard them, let alone had the privilege of owning them. I was in a very fortunate position at that time as being a managing editor of a publication, getting to live with them for upwards of 1 year. and I loved them. Their physical form factor notwithstanding, I absolutely loved them, and still to this day consider them one of the finer amplifiers I have ever heard. And so it was a real shame. It was a real shame when I had to send them back, or when Harman, Mark Levinson's parent company, when Harman asked, hey, time's up, good review, thank you, but we are going to need these back. And so when they went back, I spoke to some of the designers over at Harman, and I said, man, there's something different. I've owned 433s, 432s, I can't keep them all straight, but I've owned multiple Mark Levinson amplifiers, and the 52s, the monoblocks, the reference big old tower monoblocks, I said, they just sound different. They just sound so clean. And a person high up in Harman said, well, I can't confirm or deny that something that is inside these amplifiers may share some lineage, some family resemblance to things that we've been doing as a brand in car audio. And there may or may not be other products in the Harman lineup of products that, share similar technologies. And that's all they were willing to say. And I understand why. I do. I understand why. But again, it got me thinking. Well, and around this time, I was also speaking with a good friend of mine. And he has always been kind of my audio and video Yoda, if you will, in the sense that he just, at that time, he was always challenging me. And in a weird way, he had a great influence on me, an influence that I hope this channel has on you guys, the viewers, because he always tried to get me to look at the problem, or the conundrum, if you will, of hi-fi just differently. Not right, not wrong, just look at something differently. And I don't know how we got on the topic of PA amplifiers, professional amplifiers, DJ amplifiers, live event style amplifiers, stuff you can buy at like Guitar Center. But we did. I think we were talking about Behringer of all things. And I said, oh, well, Crown is a Harman product, a Harman company. And so we got to talking about it, and he's like, yeah, for pound, like digital amplifiers, or PA amplifiers, I should say, you're not going to do better than the performance to power ratio that they offer. And so I was in a Guitar Center one day, and I saw the first Series Crown XLS drive core amplifier, not the Series 2 we're on now, but Series 1. And I saw that it was like $199 or $299. I forget what it was. And I bought one. And I bought one, and I took it home. And I replaced a Pass Labs X250. And I literally just set this amplifier right on top of a Pass Labs X250. And plugged it in and let it power my Bowers & Wilkins 800 Diamonds. And I'm not going to mince words. It shocked me what I was hearing. Were there quieter amplifiers? Sure, absolutely. But for I think around $200 from a Guitar Center, I was hearing traits, aspects of performance that I had recently experienced through Mark Levinson's monoblocks not a few weeks or months prior. And this set off a whole litany of questions for me that I sent to Harman. And I said, what is this drive core? And it is Harman's proprietary, I don't want to call it Class D, because I don't think that that's what they call it, but it's their proprietary digital amplifier topology. It turns out to be true that there were elements of drive core in those $50,000+ Mark Levinson monoblocks. And since generation 1 of drive core, now we find ourselves in the drive core 2 generation. Well, that topology has found its way into Lexicon, Mark Levinson Audio, Crown, obviously, and a host of their other brands, which begs the question, much like the Ford GT, if it works and works well, then the people that are there for the performance, the people that are there for the totality of the experience, aren't going to hang or allow themselves to be distracted by the fact that the engine comes out of a Ford F-150. The same way that having had the pinnacle performance of the Mark Levinson monoblocks, thus then setting off a chain of events that led me to the Crown, I don't get hung up on the Crown amplifier. I know that it has its shortcomings. I do. I'm not saying, and I've never said, that it's perfect. But for what it is, and not for what it is at its price point, no, for what it is phenomenal. And I don't get distracted by the badge, because the topology, the drive core technology inside these amplifiers is good enough that much more high-end monikers like Lexicon and Mark Levinson use it. Albeit they do add things, they do change things, and those things do matter. But at its core, it's still a Crown amplifier. And in the case of some of the Lexicon amplifiers, it's almost a direct port. It really is. I've actually been able to make that comparison. You know, Lexicon years ago did send me their LX7, LX9. It's a very slim chassis amplifier. And at that time, Crown also sent me, it was not the XLS series, I think it was the XTI series. And they are, near as makes no difference, the exact same product. But if I came out on this channel, or I came out in a review and I said the Lexicon is amazing, it sounds great, you guys got to check it out, it's the first Class D amplifier that is very musical and hi-fi, because it has a Lexicon badge, you would likely take my word for it. But if I said, guys, you gotta go get this Crown amp because it's musical and it's this and it's every bit a hi-fi product, you're gonna probably flood my inbox or the comments section with, I don't know what I'm talking about. Because you're getting distracted by the badge. Because it goes back to the first comment that I made, and that none of this is magic. None of it's magic. In fact, it's the least magic thing. It's pure science. It's pure science that we then subjectively try and quantify. But at its core, it's electrical pulses, people. It's science. It's not Harry Potter. There's no wizarding anything here. It's not magic at all. So yeah, that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. I do promise we will be back up to full strength, and there are a lot of new reviews coming, as well as a fun little travel vlog. I'm a terrible vlogger, by the way. I'm awful, but I'm going to try it again, and that'll be coming here very soon. Just showing you a little bit about what happened over the Christmas break, including that fun little story of how Christy and I got kicked out of Frozen, the ride. Yes, some of you were asking, the movie or the ride. We got kicked out of Frozen, the ride. So anyway, yes, thank you guys so very much for watching, for sticking with me. I apologize again for my voice. I am getting better. Thank you for all the well wishes. So yeah, I'm going to end it there. So yes, thank you so much. And remember, as always, even though it's a new year, the only person that has to like the sound of your system is you. So happy listening, everybody. Take care, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye.